Hi, welcome to my channel where I discuss everything I love about my favorite books. Today I want to start a regular update style video that I am tentatively calling Rainy Mountain Reading and Weather Report. At the weather part of it is supposed to be a fun expansion to the Rainy Mountain aspect of my channel name. But if you like, I will also give you an actual weather report. It is not raining here today, and it was even sunny briefly for a while, but yeah, it's just a lot of clouds now, so I don't have a lot of hope for the sun to last later through the day. Now this update style video, what I want to use it for is to give an update on what I've been reading, what I maybe finished, talk about the books that I have finished reading that I don't necessarily I'm going to make dedicated videos for. And I think, well, today might be a long one because this is my first time making one of these, but I want these videos to be short enough and not wait until the end of the month where I will be depending on time to be available to record these, and that's just probably going to mean that I record the monthly wrap-ups very infrequently. So I figured I'll make these whenever I have time, and if possible, I'm going to try and keep it short enough that I can film them and edit them regularly and put them out, hopefully at a weekly cadence. That's what I'm aiming for, and I have hopes to do that regularly because let's start with the first update. I have been reading Berserk with Steve from Steve Talks Books and Dan, who does not have his own YouTube channel but is on the page chewing forum, and we've been having these wonderful discussions. We've read 2 volumes so far, and we're going to be discussing the 3rd volume next week. We do these discussions every Sunday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and Steve streams the discussions live over on his channel. And if you want a more detailed schedule for the whole thing, check out the page chewing forum as well. I'll link that down below. But yes, so we've had 2 live stream discussions for 2 volumes of Berserk that I've read so far. It's been a lot of fun. The discussions make it pretty amazing. Dan has read the manga before in its entirety multiple times, I'm given to understand, so it's nice to read with a veteran and another person who's also reading it for the first time. So that's the first update of what I've been reading in the last few weeks, and I am going to be reading the next volume this week and make progress 1 volume a week. The other things that I've been reading, well, let's talk about the ones I finished first. I did get around to finally finishing A Game of Thrones. I think I might make a dedicated video on this one, but I did enjoy it a lot. Now, it felt like a really slow build and slow burn type of book, but the ending really sold me. It didn't necessarily make me want to pick up the next book immediately, but I was missing the world between reading sessions, if that makes sense. And that's one way I always know that I'm really enjoying a book when once I put it down and before the next time I pick it up, I keep missing the world, or I keep thinking about it, or I miss some of the characters and I want to go back and read about them. I think Dany or Daenerys Targaryen, she stood out to me as the character I want to follow the most. I took a peek at all the POVs in A Clash of Kings by flipping the pages. I didn't actually go Google anything because I didn't want spoilers. Now I think Dany is not there, at least in the flipping that I saw. So yeah, I'm a little sad about that, but I think the ending with Robb Stark when he's declared, spoilers for A Game of Thrones, sorry I didn't warn you before, but yeah, when he's declared the King of the North, I think that thread also has me super fascinated. So yeah, I'm really excited for that, and I'm going to be starting A Clash of Kings this week, I think, and the discussion on Steve's channel, I believe, is scheduled for the end of the month. I'm hoping I can finish the book before then. We'll see. I don't have anything else big to read before then, so I'm hoping that I can get it done. And also, I suspect this will move at a slightly faster pace than the first book did, because I think the first was a lot of setup. And yeah, the other thing that maybe I want to mention there is that I really enjoyed following Brand's storyline. I was a little nervous about that one because I think I've heard a lot of people say that they hated following Brand. Maybe it's from this point on, but whatever I read of it in the first book, I enjoyed. That was one of my favorite POVs to follow. Cool. I also read Imperium, which I started on a whim because I thought the plot was really interesting when Alan mentioned it on his channel for the bunch of read-alongs that he's doing this year, Alan of the Library of Alexandria. I really enjoyed that book, and I have a lot of thoughts about it. I don't think I'm going to make a dedicated video about it, so I guess we'll use this video for that now. So yes, it is a lot of politicking, and it is an ancient courtroom drama, like the back book blurb promises to be, and it lived up to that promise. I loved the courtroom stuff, and I really enjoyed reading about the political machinations. Another thing that made me sad and not very surprised at the same time was just how little politics has changed in over 2000 years. That was very interesting to read, because I think the author said that there's very little that he made up. He largely stuck to real events. So I guess, politics is a reflection of the state of society, perhaps, and not much has changed in 2000 years. So that is a lot of fun to read. It did not end on a cliffhanger. In fact, the first book had a pretty satisfying ending, but somehow it made me want to immediately pick up the next book. Now, all I knew about Cicero was, well, next to nothing. I had studied Julius Caesar in school, in high school, the play by Shakespeare. We studied that for a whole 2 years because we write a final exam back in India where we are quizzed on one Shakespearean play and one novel and some short story collections. The novel we read was Village by the Sea. We will never talk about that book because I read it 200 times and I do not want to discuss it. I do not want to read it again if I can help it. But Julius Caesar also I read several times, but interestingly I forgot most of it. But I do remember Cicero being a character in the play, and I seem to recall that he was in the plot to kill Julius Caesar, maybe. But anyway, that's all I know about him, and I think that plot is thickening. Like, Caesar is getting more powerful now, and I think Cicero is pretty clearly in opposition. And also, Alan mentioned something about the Catalina conspiracy, which I believe happens during Cicero's consulship, not before. So yeah, he's already wrestled with Catalina in the final election. So I believe that the next book is going to get into that conspiracy, probably. So yeah, I'm really excited to read Conspirata next. I'm really eager to get into that book. I might read it alongside A Clash of Kings, but I might also just wait until the end of February so that I read it closer to the live stream and I can remember more when I end up watching the live stream there, whenever Alan streams it. I did watch the live stream for Imperium and it was a lot of fun to watch that discussion as well. The other book I finished was the first book by Lois McMaster Bujold in the Sharing Knife series. The first book is called Beguilement. This one is not what I expected it to be. I expected that there would be a romance in it. I didn't think it would be the whole plot. but I really liked both the characters, and so I really enjoyed reading the book and the romance aspects of it as well. But the first book does lay a lot of foundation, I think, for the world and where this might go. And I suspect the next 3 books might still center significantly around these 2 characters. But I don't think they will be a romance book anymore, because we've seen the conclusion of that plot. A romance book, typically in my mind, is about 2 people who get together and become romantic partners, right? And that part, spoiler alert, has already happened. So I'm kind of eager for the next 3 books to see where the larger plot goes and where the world expands to, because there's a lot of tiny details that Bujold has placed in this book, which hint at maybe a world that will be expanded to richer detail and greater character development and so on. So yes, I am very eager for that. I also really, really, really loved Bujold's writing style. I think I've been thinking a lot about economy of language and just how much you can say by using very few words. Yes, this is a short book, but that's not quite right. It's just how the specific words that authors use to convey their point, or how they don't put a pile of information together in one place, and instead sort of disperse it and layer the world building in with just using a sentence here or a word there that might help you understand the world. For instance, I think I know a lot about the lake walkers, who are a people in this world who are not quite human from what I understand, or at least they are different. They have some more magical powers than regular humans do, and their magical abilities, their origins, their gods even, how they are relayed to us. It's not, in 1 or 2 paragraphs about, hey, here are lake walkers and here's everything you need to know about them. It's really spread out over the course of the book, and I really love that style of writing. So I'm really eager to read more by Bujold in this series and other books as well. Oh, I forgot to mention the main accomplishment of the last week. I finally finished Told the Hounds. If you don't know, I've been reading this book for about 7 months now. I started it, I checked my Goodreads on July 1st of last year, and I finally finished it yesterday. I had about 200 pages to go in the mass market edition, and I had put it on pause in October. In my pause, I don't mean I actively decided to put reading the book on hold. I just put it down in October, and then I changed jobs. I traveled a lot during the holidays. I fell sick, and over all of this, the book I didn't feel like picking it up over the last 4 months or so. So the last 100 pages, which are arguably the most breathtaking, fast-paced action I've seen in a Malazan book, in my opinion anyway, I put it down in the middle of that sequence, and I did not pick it up for 4 months. So yeah, that wasn't a reflection on how I felt about the book at all. It's just, for some reason, I did not have the mental energy to pick it up. But I finally did yesterday and finished it. Well, I should mention that I had the ending spoiled for me by myself, by a stupid thing I did a few months ago. And so that also, I think, in some ways contributed to my not wanting to pick the book up, because I did not want to arrive inevitably at that ending. So yes, the fear of that spoiler thing happening put me off, but now I have finished it. I am very happy. Chapter 22 of Told the Hounds is a masterpiece, and it has taken over Memories of Ice as my favorite book, but just by a hair, not by a lot, but it is now my favorite Malazan book, and by extension also my favorite book of all time. Yeah, and it has made me really eager to go read the Karkanis trilogy and the novels of the Malazan Empire, where I'm hoping we get Traveler's backstory, and also, I don't know, Fisher Keltath, yes, the warrior poet. I want more backstory about him as well. I'm hoping to get that from one of these prequel series. So yeah, that was fun, and I feel really accomplished having finally completed that. It did not feel good to have that on my currently reading shelf for 7 months. I was enjoying it whenever I did read it. I enjoyed it quite a bit. So the amount of time I took to finish it was not a reflection on how I liked the book at all. Now, what am I currently reading? I've got The Prestige in progress, in audiobook. Simon Vance is narrating it. I love the Christopher Nolan movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I very unfortunately found out that it was based on a book after several years after watching it. So now I'm reading the book for the first time, and it is brilliant, but I sadly know all the reveals that are coming. Now, I don't know if Nolan did something different with the ending than the book does, or did something different with the reveals than the book does, but based on my reading so far, it seems like the reveals are going to be the same. But I would desperately want to know if anybody who hasn't watched the movie read the book, or if you read the book before you watched the movie. I would love to hear what you made of the autobiography portion of the book. I'd love to hear from you. Either leave me a comment or send me an email using the email address on my about page or something. I'd love to hear from you. If you have read The Prestige and you hadn't watched the movie when you read it, I'd really like to pick your brain on how this read for you when you did not know what reveals were coming. But yes, even knowing what's coming, this feels like a masterpiece. I love how the plot is being set up. I love the writing style. I love everything about it. And Simon Vance's narration makes all of that better. I've also got Central Station still in progress. Now that I've wrapped up a bunch of stuff that I have in flight, I might pick this up again. I had this paused for a few weeks there, and I didn't really lose a lot of continuity, because this is it feels like a bunch of short stories stitched together, which I think it is, because each chapter has a separate copyright listed at the back. So I think all chapters used to be short stories that were modified to stitch everything together in novel form. The Central Station book is by Lavi Tidar, by the way, and it's the second book in the Central Station series. And yeah, I'm eager to pick this up and read a little bit whenever I need a break from A Clash of Kings, for instance. I've also got The World We Make in progress by N.K. Jemisin. This is what I'm reading at night before I fall asleep. I love what Jemisin has done with this story. Like, I really love the ideas, but I'm not too interested in the plot per se. I did find out something about the actual enemy person, the references and the Lovecraft stuff that they are based on, and so I think I might understand more and enjoy it more. Yeah, so I do enjoy and appreciate the series on a cerebral level, but I'm not like loving it as much. So I'm just reading it really slowly. That's all that means. I don't dislike it. It's not my favorite thing to keep going back to as I'm reading it. So it's probably going to be a while before I finish it. I'll give you updates on it whenever I make significant progress. Um, I've also got the Paper Menagerie in flight. It's a collection of short stories by Ken Liu. So Steve, again over on Steve Talks Books, is organizes these weekly reading sprints, and it's usually the same people showing up in the chat and so on. So the last few weeks, what he's been organizing is a bit of a short story read along during the sprint, which is a lot of fun. We first read the ones that walk away from Omelas. I think that's what that short story is called, by Ursula Le Guin. I'll put up the picture here with the right name. But we read that first, and the discussion was fantastic. And then last week we read the title story of Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu, and that we had a fantastic discussion about. So the reading sprint that Steve hosts usually run about 2-ish hours, and we use the first sprint and a half to read the short story and discuss the story, and then the next few sprints go into reading or working or whatever people do during those sprints. So yeah, this is a lot of fun, like the community discussion, and you get people from all over the world participating in the live chat discussion. So you get so many different perspectives. It is so much fun. So yeah, I believe the plan is to keep working our way through these short stories over the next few weeks, and we'll probably read the Paper Menagerie in its entirety, or at least pick and choose all the most interesting stories over the next few weeks. And I don't know what the plan is for after that. We may keep reading other short story collections, or we might switch to a book that we read during the sprints. I'm not sure, but yeah, come check out Steve's reading sprints if you're interested in that, or if you're interested in reading the Paper Menagerie with us. It's a lot of fun. And yes, the short story that we did read, the Paper Menagerie, is brilliant. It is absolutely wonderfully executed and has some fantastic themes. When I get around to finishing this book, I might make a dedicated video for it, but meanwhile, go check out the discussions. Well, you'll probably have to read the chat on the live stream, but yeah, I'll make a dedicated video if you're interested in hearing more about this from me in particular. So that's everything I have in progress. I already mentioned the Clash of Kings for what I'm going to be reading next week. I am also going to be reading Conspirata, like I mentioned. It's quite possible I'm not going to be able to keep myself away from it until the end of the month. I'll probably, dip into it a little bit here and there until I finish Clash of Kings, and then, spend full time on this book. I also have some stuff. I've put some feelers out for possible buddy reads over the next few weeks and months. So I've got a bunch of fun stuff coming up. I've got we're going to be reading Uzumaki together. Steve and probably Dan of the group that's reading Berserk, and maybe a few others from the Page Viewing Forum will join us. If you're interested in joining us for that read along, do check out the Page Viewing Forum. That's where we post. Steve posts the most current details of dates and discussions and so on. The Uzumaki discussion will probably host on my channel, and we're tentatively scheduling that around March 11th, but we'll have a more final date soon. When we Uzumaki, we're not going to split out into volumes. We're just doing that in one discussion because it's pretty short, right? And it's the size of one of the Berserk volumes, and so I think we're just going to do that in one shot. When we finish that, we're probably going to start The Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. That one is, I believe, 6 collections, and probably going to do one collection at a time, and whenever we schedule those discussions, probably do that after Uzumaki, and maybe we'll host that on my channel too, but I haven't really talked to Steve about it, so I'll tell you more when we have more final information. But tentatively it's going to be on mine, or otherwise probably on Steve's channel. So there's that. And then while we're still talking about comics and manga, I've also got a read-along planned with Dr. Philip Chase, which will probably happen sometime towards the end of March, so not anytime in the upcoming couple of weeks, but just something to look forward to. I'm really excited about this one because I have read The Sandman before. I love it, and I am excited to read it again so I can, one, watch the show, and also I'm excited to check out the Audible recordings with the full cast. It has some of my favorite actors on it, and I think Neil Gaiman is also in the cast. So yes, many of my favorite audiobook narrators as well as some favorite actors there. So I'm really excited about that one. That also I was putting off listening to until I had read the books again. So yeah, I'm eager to do both of those now. And then finally, Terra Ignota is another series that I have put out feelers for a potential buddy read for, and I think the person I've reached out to is inclined to read with me. So whenever I have more details on that, I will share with you on that. So I'm probably not going to post any sort of read-along schedule just because my reading is pretty chaotic and it's severely tied to my how busy work is at any given time. So I'm probably just going to see how I can manage buddy reads for now, because I just have to coordinate with one person. And then if I get good at that, maybe I'll eventually try and host something on the level of the channel, which, many people can join and so on. Meanwhile, I am doing read-alongs for the manga and comics that I mentioned, like Swamp Thing and Uzumaki specifically. So those will be read-along style if you come join the Page Chewing forum and sign up to come participate in the discussion or show up for the live chat whenever they happen. So that's going to be a lot of fun, so I'm excited about that. So that's everything I have planned for the few weeks. I was on one live stream on Tori's channel, which was a lot of fun, which there was a discussion about female characters in fantasy, and had a blast discussing the topic with Kay, Anita, Joanna, and of course Tori, who hosted the whole thing. I met a lot of new booktube folks, and that really made my week. So yes, sorry about how long this update was. I will hopefully keep it short from next week because I don't expect to get a lot of reading done or enough reading done to keep these quite this long every week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.